Hello, ActiveSage here on the Sage channel, and I'm here today to show you guys this floating island and its little cathedrals on top. Now, this was originally going to be a sky castle, basically, and you can sort of see that on the right here. I had a lot more castle-esque architecture, but as time went on, I sort of changed the idea of this from being a big castle on a floating island to being more of a cathedral and a little bit of a fishing town on one. A bit strange for a floating island, but I like how it turned out a whole lot more than my original idea, as that sort of fell apart as I was working on it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start the tour over here with what I originally built, the cathedrals and stuff, and then I'll get to the little fishing area in a little bit. I'm going to go building to building. Please note the buildings are not furnished. Also, please note structural integrity is on. So even though we are on a floating island, all of this actually has structural integrity turned on, and there's actually a few parts that when I was building it I had to reload about 10 to 20 times because they kept exploding. A lot of them to do with those tiny little support beams that I'm such a fan of using. Anyway, let's go ahead and start on this nice little field here. It's the only really plain open space in this whole castle floating island place. What shall we call it? This little mini city town, I guess? This little floating town? Anyway, it's the only space. I was originally going to have quite a few of these, but as I kept building, I decided to just end up cramping everything together and sticking as many buildings as I can. Now, if we were to go through here, through this little tiny like mini house thing, or almost just a way to escape the elements, we have what originally was almost castle-esque. Let's sort of walk about here to watch around the area. The nice little cathedral building here, and then some steps leading down under this other little building. Now, the original buildings I built were the cathedral building I just looked up into, and this is basically its basement. You can see we have a lot of just arches leading up to a wooden ceiling slash floor there. The floor we were just walking over. A little tunnel going down. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. And then over here, if we were to go into here, this is that other building that was right next to it, and we can head up the stairs. You can see it has multiple levels and a fair amount of space on each level. If we head out here, we have a nice little balcony overlooking. See where we just were a minute ago. And if we were to go ahead and run through here and head out here, another little tiny, very, very tiny balcony. Now there is one floor above this, and there's no direct access from here. You actually have to go out, go over here, up these stairs. So there's the big open area we were just at. We're basically in a courtyard here. Almost wish I could have a fountain, but wasn't quite as much space. And then come over here into this cathedral right here. And this isn't necessarily to be used as a cathedral. It's sort of just a large open interior area you could use as whatever you like, but it is designed after a cathedral. And then you go to the side here and you come into this building. Now the reason I showed that is because from the outside it looks like two separate buildings sort of connected, but I just wanted to show the weird construct and a lot of the ways I built this. In fact, I can even fly down here and show that this little window here actually leads to that room we were in earlier. I like the design of these two buildings stuck together. I do wish that this little edge here would have spawned in, but unfortunately because there is another roof piece here and it's spawning in that very top tile, I believe, it's also preventing that from spawning. A bit odd that, but whatever. It works pretty well. Anyway, let's go ahead and keep on moving from these sort of buildings here that you could use as storage or schools or whatever you like, from this one here and its huge storage space down below, onto the main cathedral right here, which is a pretty hefty structure. And obviously, when I first built it, it was actually just rectangular, but luckily then this little up arch came out in an update, and I ended up using a flipped version of it to give us these nice little buttress thingies sticking out the sides. Pretty damn cool. Don't know the actual name of that or the actual name of these things that stick out of the sides of the cathedrals. Unfortunately, have just forgotten it. As we walk inside, though, you can see we have a lot of supports reaching across the ceiling. They don't actually reach up to the actual ceiling itself, but I think they do add a lot of nice detail in here. Unfortunately, I don't have any pillars on the inside because they would actually merge with this wall, but we do have some very nice tall windows in here, and then these even taller windows right at the very end of the room. It's pretty nice. Now, if we were to go ahead and head through this little side door, which is the only door actually in this place besides the front door, it instantly leads us into a very spiky, or a tower with a very spiky ceiling, and a stairwell that leads us down to this area right here out the side of the cathedral. And if we come over here to this building we were in a minute ago, you can see it leads us just back into where we were. So we got lots and lots of looping paths and some stone here. So everything sort of loops back together a lot. We end up with a lot of looping paths. Now, from here, I'm actually going to go ahead and head back into here, through here, and you can see we have our nice big storage area beneath the main cathedral as well. So that smaller cathedral-esque area had its storage area. This one has its. You can see this was built at a slightly different time because at that point we had more arch ceiling blocks to go with. So as I said, I've been working on this place for quite some time, so you can see the architecture changed over time. So now we have these nice much larger open areas here than we did before. Heading back out, we can now go ahead and head back into this stairwell area here, and it actually leads down below. And I believe this is a dead end, actually. And if we come down here, yep, it is definitely a dead end. It leads out into this little standing area out here, which is a very strange thing to have if this place was built, of course, on solid ground. But in the Sky Island, you can have a stairwell coming down and lead out into... Oop, let me get a camera so it's not stuck inside something. So you can have a stairwell leading down into a basically watchtower hanging down from the base of the structure. Now, a bit strange here, I did actually run into a bit of an issue where I wanted to have these half-arched pieces clipped into this. That way it would just go all along and then it would clip into the mountain. I believe it was a bigger issue on this side. No, I must have decided to build the mountain out more than it originally was. But I had to actually build the mountain out that way it wouldn't have this strange cutoff right here. Anyway, it's pretty cool. I like the idea, and I like the fact that the way you can build into the stone walls and stuff and actually have it look like it's coming out of it. Pretty cool, almost dwarven-esque. Let's go ahead and just fly back up, since there's no reason to go ahead and take all those stairs, so you can see the pointy ceiling I was talking about, and the way that it is actually just connected directly into the main structure here, even with another little roof piece here. I'm very happy with that, actually. And you can see we had to have one tiny window on this side compared to the large window on the other side, because of course, it would be... well, it would cause issues if that window was much deeper, because it would then crop into that area there. Pretty cool stuff. I like it. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on back to here, the courtyard we were in earlier. I'm very happy with all of this, by the way. I should point out I originally wanted to put some trees in here until I realized that might be a bit of a hassle to figure out how to put trees. I wanted to have like a little tree here, but unfortunately that wasn't so easy, so I ended up not putting any more green spaces like that little square in. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's go back to the actual green. Oop, green. There we go, area right here, and we'll head into this strange building that we have right here, which is, well, it's very odd, this room here. It's a very high ceiling, it's a lot of wasted space. I probably should put a door in right there and just have a second floor, but at the same time, you wouldn't be able to have a floor directly above where I am, because you need to be able to go up these stairs, so it's a very cramped space if you do that, so I just ended up leaving it open. If we come into here, though, you can see we do have a lower ceiling in here, and then if we were to go back out here onto the courtyard, we have this little nook here that leads into this room, and unfortunately a little bit of a gap. And if we were to look at this building from the outside, you can see it's a pretty nice structure. You could almost imagine it having a basement, but I just have the stone built up in there, similar to actually what's behind this. If we were to fly in there, we actually have a bunch of stone. But I like this building a lot. It's a very nice thing. Now, as I said, I'm actually going through this in basically the order I built it. So I built the basics of this, a bit of the outline of that, finished these off, and then built that, and then built this house. And then I took about a day or two break, and an update came out again. And then I came back and started building all of these other houses, basically the fishing village. And actually, I sort of lost inspiration there until I got myself ridiculously drunk, and then it was amazing what I built because it was so random and just free form. I like it. So we're going to go ahead down here on these little passageways, and this is basically the building I built while I was completely smashed out of my mind. And instantly we walk inside the doorway, and you say, well, I'm probably going to be able to see into there. Nope, it's a singular little room here that I actually love the idea of one big building with rooms that are completely separate from each other, as if different people could live in there. And this actually even has a stairwell leading down into a lower area down there. Ooh, come on, let's go back out. But if we were to go into this door here, you can see we have more doorways leading here. This is actually an overpass, believe it or not. There's a walkway that goes down below us, sort of the alleyways between these buildings. But if we were to go up here, it leads us into another nice room, and then we have another walkway above the alleyways connecting to two different buildings. I love the fact that I was able to hook all this up, and I love the way this whole place turned out. Let's go ahead and head outside of this building again. So that was that building right there. We can go ahead and look at it from the outside. It's a very, very strange structure, and it actually merges into this one, but of course there's no access way from inside of it. I'm very happy with this building. I just adore these little overpasses, and the fact that you can have these nice, very sharp arches by putting two of those sort of arch blocks together and flipping around. Pretty cool. And also the fact that over the under the overhang sort of walkway area, the bridgeway, we have doors down here as well. So we can actually go ahead and walk down there, and you can see that the basement of that building we were just in is basically another tiny little room that's completely separate from everything else. Now we can go ahead and head into this building on our right, and you can see in here we have some structural supports that sort of ruin the look of things, but I had to put these in, or else there's actually a tower on top of this that would cause us some very serious grief. And I can go ahead and head up this stairwell. It leads up to the second floor. Pretty nice little area here. Originally, this wasn't even going to be a balcony. It was going to have the roof coming up from it, but everything kept breaking as soon as I tried to put this little piece in, but up a little higher. It just shattered the whole tower for some reason. Very odd, not exactly sure why. Even if I had built up ground support with the wood here, it still broke, but I'm pretty happy with this overall. And then, of course, if we were to walk this way, we can once again go over this overpass to the building we were in just a minute ago, and we can see the other overpass down there. Pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and head all the way up to the tower, though. By the way, I love these very tall arches that we have in this room right here. You can imagine somebody making this their actual bedroom or main living space. Get all the way to the top. This is a square tower. Originally didn't plan to have any square towers. By the way, I should say my alcoholic high wore off when I finished that building. I finished it, there was some noise going on in my office, so I had to stop and take a rest. And by the time I came back, I was sober, unfortunately, and found myself overthinking a lot of things, including the fact that I built this tower as a square tower. I'm kind of unhappy that I did that because I would have liked to have a lot of cylindrical towers, but I decided, you know what, this is sort of different than the cathedral, so let's go ahead and just be fine with a square tower sticking out the top of these rather strange buildings. I should also note that if we were to go ahead and fly all the way down to the base of this building, we have something that I never got around to finishing. We have this tunnel for one that leads us back into this room here, but we do, if we were to look down here, have this sort of, well, semi-grand opening into what was supposed to be an underground area of this place, like a few shops or something, but I never really got around to finishing that, and I actually forgot about it until pretty much just now. I might go ahead and tweak in and add some tunnels to what we do actually have underground in the future. Anyway, let's go ahead and head down this way before we get to the, well, I guess we might as well, since this is there's one building after that, it's this one right here, and then we'll loop our way back down going the other way on the other buildings. This building right here is, yeah, very similar to one we were just in. Actually, no, it's not, is it? I thought it had different rooms connected by different ways. But nope, it's just pretty simple and straightforward. It's floor on top of floor. The exterior of it actually looks a bit more interesting than this to incorporate the stairwell without compromising all this space. Because of course, we come in here, we got a bit of space, and pretty quickly it's taken up by a stairwell. And once again, you would be taken up, well, pretty much all of the space by a stairwell because you'd have to put it right there, so the ramp would lead up and then still be room to get off of the ramp at the top. So we went ahead and actually have this outcropping sticking out above the, well, earth far below, and then leading up to another floor up here, which actually has a huge amount of space and is pretty nice and roomy. And I could have filled that in. I probably should have, or just remove this door frame. Either way, it's a pretty nice place. If we were to go ahead and run outside really quickly, and we can head down here, we can actually go ahead and hop, and you can see that the area where I was saying we were hovering above the ground down below is actually indeed a outcropping here with all these little stone arches that I adore so much, supporting these more wooden structures. It's pretty cool stuff. I spent a lot of time thinking about a lot of this. I like the fact that we have stone here and then it turns to the wood for the area that's going to be suspended over nothing. It's pretty nice, even if it's still stone supports. And then this one here, originally wanted to have the stone little small pillars coming down, but of course there's nothing to connect to, so we ended up just putting a side piece right there. And also at the very base here, where it would be a sharp corner, I've put in an upside down slanted sloped piece to sort of disappear into the mountain. Also, we have these docks. What's the point of these docks? Well, maybe airships if we're in a world that doesn't have them. Maybe fishermen. Maybe this is actually where people, they float the island magically over to a lake and then start fishing from there. There's no water in Medieval Engineers currently, so we're just gonna have to assume that's what they do. Maybe they bring people up here and give them tours of the skies every now and again, so they just drop buckets and people donate to them, or something silly like that, almost like something out of Gulliver's Travels. Anyway, you can also see we have more sloped pieces here leading up to more arches. And if I was actually to turn on structural integrity, you would expect this to be the thing that's about to explode and collapse, wouldn't you? But no, this little dinky archway here is, well, I guess you would. It is very thin. It's on the brink of breaking. A little bit more weight and it would go bye-bye. Anyway, let's go ahead once again and land and take a tour of this itsy-bitsy little house right here. Some of these with their balconies, the idea is maybe they'd be watching over ships coming in and out, or just looking over the docks. As we walk into this place, we have a little balcony out here like the ones I was just talking about. We have a stairwell leading down to just an itsy-bitsy, mindlessly small space, but I wanted to put a few windows in here looking out because I thought it looked pretty cool from the outside. That's also very annoying. I should probably put one of these little thin walls right down here to fill that, but maybe I'll get around to it. And then as we go up, we have just a nice little tiny living space where you could imagine maybe a fisherman having his bed and a little table or something. It's a nice little space. I like it a lot. Anyway, by the way, if you're still playing the drinking game when I say I like it a lot, I am very sorry. You're going to continue to get very drunk, I suspect. Anyway, I just wanted to come back in here to point out the arched ceilings that I really liked in here. It was nice. Anyway, moving on down this way, we have a little bit of a greenery path here. I wanted to actually have some alleyways and stuff between the buildings, because originally I started actually building this building right next to this one. I was like, no, we already have 3 buildings right here that are actually stuck right together. Let's go ahead and make sure we have some space. And then... Actually, I'm not giving you guys a tour of the fishing area the way I built it, because I did actually build these outer buildings, and then I went back and added the inner buildings. Because I built, except for this one here, I built this one, and then I actually came over here, built this, and then all the way down before I added back in this structure right here, put in the docks. Yeah, you get the gist. I did all the buildings that are cramped together that I'm about to show you before I did the ones that actually have the space between them, like this one here and the other one over there. Anyway, let's go ahead and head into this building here. Once again, no stairwells, even though it's a multi-floor building, because there's connected from other areas, but it does give you a nice amount of space in here. If we were to head out and continue on down these little stairwells here, we do have an entrance under one of the overpasses again, and you can see that that room we were just in actually had a basement, which is only accessible from inside the building adjacent to it. And you'll see that there's actually 3 buildings here that we're sort of walking in between. This building though, does have a stairwell, a bit of a strange divide here where we have a little arch sort of break up that sort of room area here and the rest, and then of course a very high arch here, because of course we would need to be walking up the stairwell before we head back into this section again, with more apparently small spaces. A lot of small spaces, but of course this game allows you to actually walk and build in very small spaces, so it's not so much of a problem. Anyway, heading up to this floor, nice amount of space up here, actually, huge amount of space. I originally thought about bringing these all the way up, but I decided, you know what, it's actually nicer just to have this open area. And you can see, of course, some changes between stone. This is another building-ish area right there where the stone keeps going up, but here this one's decided to go ahead and turn into wood and plaster and whatnot. And a nearly impossible to access window over here if you want to take the risk of nearly falling down and breaking your head. Of course, we come over here to another room. This building that I'm in right now is actually, as you can see from the ceiling, it's basically another building, but all its different floors are only accessible, except for that very first floor, from this building over here. It's very strange. And this is the overpass back into that original building we were in that we first walked into and started touring from. I like it a lot. Boy, oh boy, you guys are going to die from alcohol poisoning. Anyway, heading up to the next floor, we have an impossible to access space right here. But I couldn't really figure out how to put the stairwell in any other way, because if I put it in that corner, maybe sloping it that way, how would you get onto the stairs? It would be in the corner. So unfortunately, it sort of ended up being just a sacrifice space. Maybe I should just remove the wooden boards there just to have some more open space for the floor below. But then we do come up here to a few nice overlooks of the sort of fishing area and the bit of the cathedral. It's a pretty nice view, especially, of course, if you want to just look out into the world. Heading down one floor, though, we do come back into another building where we have a nice little living area here. This one is actually a bit more roomy, eh? Of course it is, because it's not using up stairwells. So this floor right here actually becomes almost just like a junction to get over here and then get you up to the top floor. Pretty cool nonetheless. I nearly said it again. I stopped myself. Anyway, let's go ahead and head down here and over into this room. This is the very top floor of, I believe it's actually a 4th building that's actually all connected up. It's a pretty nice little spot. You can look out and see more fishermen people. You can see these fishing piers are slightly less luxurious than the other ones, as their railing isn't stone, it's just the normal wooden railing. Anyway, let's go ahead and head down and in through this door once again into that other little building, and now we can run outside back into the alleyways. I love these alleyways, the way they connect everything up. Now you're probably also noticing there's no torches in here. If I was to go ahead and take the time to put torches in right now, it would probably be another day or 2 before I release this. I felt like just getting this done and saying there we go, and maybe in the future once torches and stuff are slightly less buggy, I'll go through and actually put more furniture or put actual furniture in a lot of this stuff and then republish it. Anyway, let's go ahead and just show you guys the exterior. You can see we did have basically 3 buildings here. That first one that we went into, a lot of, again, the arches and the bases, where these are actually a lot bigger at the top than they were at the bottom. Pretty cool stuff. Structural integrity is on and working, as you can see. Took a long time to make sure all this didn't fall down. Well, actually, no, these were actually all right, magically. Anything I built that day where I was drunk for the first building and then afterwards actually worked pretty well, except for the piers. And so yeah, you can see the 3 buildings, the way they're stuck together. It does bug me that this window is directly above this window. I probably should shift it over one, but then of course then there'll be this window next to the one other, and that might bug me too. maybe I'll do some tweaks in the future, obviously. Obviously, maybe. Jesus, Sage, why don't you just run in circles with your words today? Anyway, let's move on from there. The piers, again, that you've already seen. This little building right here, and let's actually pop back into our character and run in there. I believe I showed you this right here. This is a stairwell that leads us back up into these rooms here. So once again, a lot of looping paths. But if we were to head into this little building here, it's a pretty simple area. I imagine it's like where, if ships do dock here, this is where the quartermaster would be, or what have you, somebody keeping track of ships docking and going. And then we actually have a tunnel down here. So we can actually take this tunnel and lead us into the depths of this whole place. If we were to continue down this hallway, it leads us back up, and this is inside that, I believe is the very first building we went inside. If I run all the way up, it'll probably give you guys a better idea where we are. See? At the very bottom of this building. So pretty cool to have connection beneath the buildings as well as through between them. Jesus, I am babbling today. Anyway, let's go ahead and take this little stairwell right here down. I was originally going to have a tower above this as well, but it didn't seem to be fitting in the nicest spot, so I ended up just doing this. And we can come out here to another balcony overlook. It's not the same one we were at before, obviously. It's a different one. It's pretty nice. If I was to actually go ahead and use our camera, you can see we are hanging down here beneath the whole floating island, and we actually have a path down behind that leads to another overlook area, so we can go ahead and access that. Unfortunately, you don't access it by walking around. It's actually just another door hidden behind the stairwell through a little tiny passageway here and then over to here. Now originally I did want to go ahead and have, oh dear, camera's inside stuff, these sort of outcropping archways right here as well. Thing is, when I place two of them, this would instantly break for some reason. Let's go ahead and just see if it's still doing that, shall we? Grab you. Yes. So if I place two of them, I place one right here, fine and dandy. We can even press in and see the white is where it's connected to the actual stone, so it's not going to break at all. And we can rotate this around if it actually wants to rotate. There we go. And we can place another one. There we go. It breaks. I don't know why. It just does. So this area here actually has a slightly altered design. I originally wanted to have just a doorway leading out to that sort of walkway area again like I've done in other spots, but no dice, it didn't quite work. Now we do have a tunnelway here into just a big open room that I actually was trying to make very square with just cutting away. You can see I got a lot of that, but as I kept expanding its ceiling higher, it got a bit more deformed. And then a walkway here leading us up to the way that people would actually get on and off of this place. It's a machine sort of pulley system. It's super simple stuff, really, that would pull up and down a, what do you call it? A chariot, a chandelier, a little cart for people to float up and down in. So that's pretty nice. And I did stick a piece of wood across here because I didn't want to actually use those standard railings like we have right here because they're so stupid tall, it's annoying. As you can see, they're all the way up at eye height, so it's madness. So I stuck my own in right there. And if we head up this way, we come to a nice, very open area here. This is sort of where, again, I would imagine somebody would be logging in anybody who just arrived to the floating sky island. And then if we were to go up this stairwell, we'll be right back up here where we were a minute ago with this stairwell, with this passageway leading us back to that original little check-in area there. So pretty cool stuff. I likes it a fair amount. Anyway, moving into here, this is that machine I was talking about. It's, again, super simple. I didn't come up with this setup here, by the way, with the way to control two of these at the same time. Saw that online, can't remember where anymore, but it was very cool. Basically, you have all these different connection points, and you connect them to a mirrored or an exact same version of it. So the top one left here will be connected to this top left here, and as you turn this, it turns the other side. So you can actually use 2 or 4 of these at the same time at equal distances pretty much and be able to pull something up and down. So let's go ahead and actually use that now, and I'm going to switch over to spectator as that's going, and I believe it should be going up. Yeah, oh, what? Okay, it's being a bit finicky. And I did find this, that as soon as it starts lifting, it actually always takes a tilt to it. So I really don't understand why it does that. I'm thinking it's because it's off kilter. The distances of the ropes are not all equal, basically. But I shifted around left and right to try to get that sorted out, and it didn't seem to want to work. I'm figuring I just have to go back and forth and spend a lot of time doing that. Unfortunately, in spectator mode, you cannot actually click on these things to set the ropes up, so it was taking eons of me flying off from all the way down there to all the way up there. And at one point, I did actually build a platform up here and have this little guy sitting up there and trying to hook it up. But a lot of stuff went wrong, so I figured, you know what, let's just leave it be for the time being, and maybe, like many other things in this build, come back to it at a later date. And you see here, it's going all the way up, and if we're lucky, it won't have a terrible impact. I can't really go ahead and release this. I need to keep holding T and stop! Oh, God! Okay, can we do a Shift T? No, I can't while we're in spectator, it's being finicky. In fact, I actually undid one of these clamps here. As you can see, this one came undone because I pressed T and the character wasn't aiming where I left it. Bit annoying that. Anyway, we can go ahead and run back down here. And once again, wait, where did it go? Oh, it's a bit higher than I thought it was. Right, we'd have to do Shift T to lower it down. Shall we just try that really quickly? Since I believe I've shown you guys pretty much everything. Shift T, it looks like you're going up. Why is my character still doing an animation? Okay, Shift T was... Alright, Shift T was bringing it up. T is just lower it. So there we go. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get into that, unfortunately. Oh no, and of course you tap at the tiniest bit and it spurges out and explodes. Which is always fantastic and wonderful. And I guess that's it for this build. I'm pretty happy with it overall. I need to do a lighting pass, put a bunch of lights in everywhere. I need to go ahead and put furniture and whatnot in everywhere. A lot of it I'm a little unsure about, like where would people sleep, where should people sleep. It's a pretty cool place, but I just need to figure a lot of stuff, little stuff out like that. You know, what do I want to be sleeping in, just storage, and do I want to do that? Do I just imagine I'll wrench it out and so people could come in and then figure it out? Do I want to put machines on these with big ropes heading down? You know, do I want to come back and maybe paint some of this instead of being such standard nice grass, maybe be just more stony grass, especially in areas like, well, maybe not here with these windows down here. Aha, there. Like this window right here. Should this be such lush grass when it's not exposed to the sun really ever? Shouldn't it be like just stones and a bit of grass like we have sort of right here? I don't know. A lot of retweaking, a lot of rethinking in little spots like that. Again, like this and around here where it's not really ever accessed. I did sort of do that in this one little alleyway here where you can see the stone. I have this nice little cut in that drops down to then get to this balcony. Balcony? Dock. But I don't know. It's pretty cool. And actually, there's a lot of little things I haven't quite talked about too much, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I have. I have babbled for quite some time. Have I not? Anyway, though, I just wanted to point this out. You got the standard grass. You got it jumps up. And so I put a little bit of a railing here. That way people wouldn't sort of go over there where it's not really refined. And then we do have some sort of nice grassy-ish areas there. Anyways, that's it for this town. I'll go ahead and put this up on the Steam Workshop, so if you want to go ahead and download this little Sky Castle town, it's not a castle, is it? Sky Island. SkyTown. SkyTown. There we go. SkyTown. Ta-da! SkyTown with Cathedral. There you go. Now you already know the title of this show, but this episode, this video, but I just figured it out. Anyway, guys, I'm a bit tired, you know. I'm gonna go edit this video now. And I feel like I'm talking in circles now. I'm telling you I'm gonna go edit the video you are watching right now. Even though it's still in my future to edit it, and then once I upload it, it'll be in my past, and I'll be listening to this part, getting ready to put my annotation slides in. I'll be saying, why? Why did I babble like that? Why didn't I just say, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time? And end it right there. And then it fell on top of itself!